Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you are having a good day so far. You're tuned into the morning show with yours truly, Dex the Algo Capitalist. Well, another day of economic data points. And of course, these things came in weak. And so the markets are mixed and they're jumping all around the place. They don't know really what to do and what to make of it. Gold is rallying, no, up almost $27 an ounce, and silver just broke back above $30 an ounce, up 45 cents. And you have the Dow going back and forth between positive and negative. S&P is up 35. The Nasdaq 100 though is up 269, and the Russell's up 23. So the only thing that's really moving is the Nasdaq because of Nvidia. That's it. One stock moving an entire index, even though a bunch of stocks in the index are down. Just to let you know what kind of world we're living in, clown world. Bitcoin breaks out huge, up over 72,000. We're at 72,280, up $1,195. So looks like things are trying to pop off as best they can. I've been watching that too. We have that bullish momentum that's operating right now in the Bitcoin. And as far as the Ethereum futures are concerned, it lost its bullish momentum, but it is up $18. So it's getting a little bit of a lift on the back of the Bitcoin, but it lost its momentum. Maybe the Ethereum futures can get its mojo back. We'll see. But I think one of the problems with the Ethereum is that when the selling started in the Bitcoin, Ethereum sold off too. But I think maybe Ethereum may have overdone it a little bit. So that's probably why the negative trend momentum reading has not fallen off of the Ethereum like it's fallen off of the Bitcoin. So maybe we need another day or two before Ethereum turns back green again. So we'll see. We'll track it and we'll see what happens. But I am definitely keeping my eye on Bitcoin and Ethereum futures and gold and silver. I'm keeping my eye on those to see how they're going to move when all four stock indices turn red. All right. So that'll be the moment of truth when the Dow, the S&P, the Nasdaq, and the Russell, when they go red. How will Bitcoin, Ethereum, gold, and silver respond? They should respond drastically and head in the opposite direction of the stock market. That's how we'll know that the World War III of finance is upon us. On the day that happens, you can pretty much set your watch to it, take it to the bank, write the check now, and cash it, because that's when the wheels fall off. All right. And that's when the Fed will come in and do an emergency rate cut in between meetings, and they'll panic, and they'll notice that it'll be too little too late, and it still won't stop the selling. Yeah. So then the SEC will reach out to the CFTC and say, can you please raise the initial and maintenance margins on these futures contracts, please, so we can stop the bleeding in the stock market? Can you raise the margins on the E-mini S&P and the mini Dow and the E-mini Nasdaq 100 and the mini Russell 2000, please, pretty please? Can you raise the margins like they were back in the late 1990s, like around 1999? Can you do that for us? Can you make the margin requirement for the E-mini Nasdaq 100? Can you put it back to $60,000, please, per contract? Pretty please, like it was in 1999, please. Can you please? If you can't do 60, can you at least make it 50,000? They will get desperate and do anything they can to stop the bleeding, just like they do with the metals, the precious metals. When the precious metals get hot, which they are not, they're in a bull market, don't get me wrong, but they're not hot like they were in 2011. Once gold and silver hits the 2011 momentums, you better believe the futures initial margins and maintenance margins, which is your overnight margin, hold it overnight, that's your maintenance margin, they're going to be through the roof. Remember back in 2011 when they raised the silver margin and the gold futures margins like 3 or 4 times in one day? Remember that? You want to trade the E-minis or the minis? Fine, give us 50 large per contract and you can trade it. Okay, Ty, we'll give you a break. On the micro mini, give us 20 large per contract. We'll let you trade it. They do the opposite that they would do in the stock market. They raise the margins in the gold and silver to suppress the price. They raise the margins in the Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ, and Russell to stop the bleeding. Get it? If they make it harder for you to short the stock market, then the prices can stabilize. If they make it harder for you to buy gold and silver futures contracts, then that price will stop going up and will start to come back down and stabilize. That's how they do it. But see, this time around, I don't think that's going to work unless they go super ridiculous and say it's $100,000 to trade a commodity futures contract. That'll stop people. But will it really? Or will it break the market even more? Because people can still do options contracts. They'll be as expensive as heck, but you could still do them. But my question is, what do you do about the ETFs, though? The ETFs track the futures. You can't raise the margins on a stock. If the stock gets expensive, people can still buy it. Some firms even let you do the micro transactions where you can trade, pennies on a dollar. So if GLD, for example, which is the ticker for the gold ETF, the gold futures ETF, if GLD, let's say, goes from $150 a share to $500 a share, it just makes it more expensive for you to buy 100 shares. But some brokerages will let you let you take $100 and buy $100 worth of that. Sort of like trading crypto. So once that takes mainstream, where you can trade equities like you do crypto and buy pennies on a dollar, we'll only have 15 cents in my account, so buy me 15 cents worth of GLD. Once you're able to do that, then all bets are off. It doesn't matter what the commodity futures exchange does, because you can't control people buying the equities. What are they going to do? Ban you from buying equities and say, well, you can't do fractional shares and pieces of shares anymore. You got to do 100. You got to do 100 lot, 100 shares minimum. They could do some stuff like that. They can come out and say, this is an issue of national security. So if you want to buy any stock now, the minimum purchase size is 100 shares. They can do that. They can do that. They can do whatever they want. But even in that, you can still trade options, right? So if GLD goes from $150 to $500, most people can't afford, to buy 100 shares of a $500 stock. But you can definitely buy one call option, which is equal to the value of 100 shares, and you'll get that for a fraction of the cost. It may only cost you $500 just to buy one call option, right? And you have choices even in that. You can buy at the money, you can buy in the money, you can buy deep in the money, you can buy out of the money, you can buy deep out of the money. So you still can't stop it. You dig what I'm saying? You can't stop it altogether, especially when people are wising up now and they know more than they did, 15 years ago. So, or even 20 years ago, right? So, with that being said, there's no way to stop this freight train. Once it leaves the station, it's a wrap. All right, so I gave you the signs of what to look for. You're waiting for all 4 stock indices to turn red, and then that will be the green light for Bitcoin, Ethereum, gold, and silver. Those 4 securities will explode when that happens. All right. That's the sign of the times that you're waiting for. And of course, our Pulse Wave subscribers to our attack reports, they know in advance of even that. Before the stock indices turn red, you'll know that they're about to, because the reports will tell you when to do that. So with that aside, that is where we are. We're looking at the Armageddon of finance. People are looking out for World War III. They're shook about that. But the bigger thing is the World War III of finance and economics. What happens when 9/11, the storm of 9/11 combines with the supercell of the 2008 financial crisis? What happens when those two storms combine into one storm? Now what do? The market has fallen and it can't get up. What do you do then? And your safe havens are gone. They've been obliterated. The market has been so divorced from the reality of the world for a long time. So it used to be, back in the day, if the stock market was having a bad day, bonds would be having an amazing day. And you could just flight to safety, go to bonds. And there was even a time where if the stock market was having a bad day or a bad week or a bad month, bonds would be your saving grace, along with gold and silver, especially gold, though. If you went into gold when the stocks were having a bad day, gold and bonds will be having a great day, and that will be your saving grace. But now, since all the markets have been decoupled from each other and from reality, and they're all over the place now because of algorithms and bots and high frequency trading, along with fraud and manipulation, which you're not supposed to talk about, I don't see where the safe haven would be for investors. Now, traders, this would be, heaven on earth for traders. It would be the rapture for traders. Instead of Armageddon, it would be the rapture, because traders go long and short. Investors only go long, only one way. All right. And that's up. Investors can only prosper in one direction, and that's when the market is going higher. Investors do not prosper when prices go down. They suffer. Investors suffer when prices go down. Always remember that. So you got to decide, what do you want to be when you grow up? Do you want to be an investor or do you want to be a trader? If you're an investor, just remember, you will make money when prices go up. But when prices go down, you will be bleeding and you may even hemorrhage to death. Okay? For the trader, when prices go up, the trader makes money. When prices go down, the trader makes money. Unlike the investor. You dig? So this is not your great granddaddy's markets anymore. It's a new creature. Just go ahead and say the markets have become AI. All right? There you go. But that's not the only thing that's popping off or about to pop off. We've been talking about the worldwide economic collapse. It hasn't happened because of natural causes. Now, you would have thought that with the U.S. being the biggest debtor nation in the history of the world, that the country would have already collapsed, right? But no, this engineered collapse is all because of decisions and poor policy. The decisions to go into debt in the first place, and then the decisions to shut down the global economy because someone started sneezing. All right? They have caused a global financial depression because someone was sneezing. All right? Now, because of these boneheaded Keystone Cop responses, the stage has been set, you guys, for the global food crisis, which is one of the prophecies of the book of Revelation, chapter 6, verse 6. Oh, yeah. So it's not a matter of if, but when. When will we soon see a major prophecy in the book of Revelation be fulfilled? What about global food prices, which have been skyrocketing? And what about hunger, which has been spreading worldwide like wildfire all over the world? We desperately need 2024 to be a year of good harvest. But unfortunately, weather patterns, or should I say, man made or man caused weather patterns because of cloud seeding and other tampering, global, weather pattern engineering, all right, geothermal engineering. Therefore, the weather is not cooperating at all. And bad news about harvest forecasts just continue to pour in from many of the planet's most important agricultural regions. Therefore, global food supplies just keep getting tighter and tighter, and the agricultural price spikes that we are witnessing right now are definitely quite ominous. And a lot of it too is caused because there has been terrorism at work, and the mainstream media has refused to cover it. We have food manufacturing plants all over the United States that have been bombed, blown up, set ablaze, and no news reports. The mainstream media is silent. Then it started happening overseas in Europe, and the mainstream media is mum. Could it be possible that the stage is now being set for the global food crisis prophecy of Revelation chapter 6, verse 6? Because in that verse, we are warned of a time when food prices will soar to absolutely frightening levels. Then I heard a voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying, "A quart of wheat for a day's wages, and 3 quarts of barley for a day's wages, and do not harm the oil and the wine." We certainly haven't reached that point yet, but we are well upon our way. You see, poor harvest in Brazil have caused the price of orange juice to approximately double over the past 12 months. Okay. You guys need to know what's going on with a number of the most important agricultural commodities. Prices of the breakfast staple have been climbing rapidly in recent years, partly driven by declining output in Florida, the main producer of orange juice in the United States, not to mention climate fueled extreme weather in the main orange producing areas of Brazil. The South American agricultural powerhouse is the world's largest producer and exporter of orange juice, which means it plays a huge influential role in shaping the global industry. The benchmark frozen concentrated orange juice futures traded on the Intercontinental Exchange in New York closed at $4.77 a week ago. That's nearly double the price registered a year ago. Prices have gone so bananas that some orange juice producers are actually considering turning to alternative fruits. Turning to alternative fruits such as mandarin oranges, as wholesale prices have gone bananas amid the fears of poor harvest in Brazil. Prices of orange juice concentrate reached a new high of $4.95 a pound on the futures markets. And that was a week after growers in the main orange producing areas of Brazil said they were expecting the harvest to be 24% down on last year at 232 million and 40.8 kilogram boxes, worse than 15% fall previously predicted. And of course, the price of coffee. We all drink coffee, right? Well, that's going haywire too. So if you love coffee like I do, I only drink it for the caffeine though. You should stock up now on it while you can, because thanks to extremely dry conditions in Brazil and Vietnam, coffee prices were up sharply and will continue to be that way because coffee prices have been known to rally at the hint of anything negative. So with Arabica coffee jumping to a 1-month high. Coffee prices continue to soar on the concern that excessive dryness in Brazil and Vietnam will damage coffee crops and curb global production. Did you know that? So that's something to think about, folks. So, wheat is specifically mentioned in the book of Revelation, chapter 6, verse 6. And Bloomberg reported that a confluence of factors has pushed the price of wheat to the highest level in 10 months. Wheat briefly touched the highest in 10 months as cold and dry weather in major producers and the ongoing war in Ukraine deepened supply concerns. Futures climbed as much as 3.3% in Chicago before paring some of the gain. Analysts have been cutting production estimates for top exporter Russia in recent weeks, while Ukraine is headed for its driest May on record. Historically low rainfall in Western Australia is also adding to nervousness. Now, all things being considered, wheat is up a little bit. I mean, you're at $6.44 a bushel. And that's, hardly the $8 it was at one point, but, it's still more than double the price that it was in 1999. So since 1999, the price of wheat has doubled. Wheat averaged around $4 a bushel, just like soybeans did. It averaged about $4 a bushel. But now soybeans is flirting with $12 a bushel today. So it's up almost 300%. Corn was around $2.50 to $3 a bushel. Now corn is at $4.38 a bushel. So there has been some inflation in the price, right? This is just the beginning, though, folks. Just the beginning. What about how beef prices have been skyrocketing? And a lot of that is due to the processing plants getting blown up. So if you think it's getting too expensive now, you just wait, because everything is going to continue to go up. I think that the stage is being set for a horrific 2025. I think the can has been kicked down the road as long as it can. And I think 2025 is when everything kind of bases out, tops out. I don't think the world can get past 2025. If it's lucky enough to even get past 2024, I don't see it surviving 2025. I think that's when the wheels fall off. If they don't fall off this year alone, I think next year everything is going to happen. It's going to fall off. It's going to go off the rails. All right. So, yeah, these are the signs of the times, folks. And the only thing you can do is prepare the best you can. But even that's still not going to, quote unquote, save you. The only thing that can save you is the Lord Jesus Christ. Anything other than that is only a temporary band-aid. Even if you were able to become the world's greatest prepper, that still wouldn't save you. Even if you were able to buy a $200 million underground bunker, that still wouldn't save you. All it would end up doing is becoming your tomb. And if you don't get trapped in there, you won't be able to get out of there. If you leave, then you come right into the chaos. And the bad news is, at some point, you will need to leave. You will need to get out of that bunker. You're going to have to step out. Eventually, the food will run out. Eventually, the water will run out. Unless you have a way to create clouds underground and weather systems underground. So because you can't, you're going to need fresh water sources, or the ability to take water and purify it so you can have potable water or what have you. All right. Just saying. So even with all that, doesn't matter. You can have the most robust farm or ranch. You can have an incredible garden. You can have crops for days. You could be sitting on 5,000 acres and you got corn and wheat and you got soybean, you got all kinds of vegetables, you got all kinds of fruits, you even got, livestock, you got pigs and horses and goats and chickens and llamas. You got all this stuff. You got fish because you got a man-made pond that you put in there or a man-made lake, and you dumped a whole bunch of different fish species in there, and so they're having babies, and you're able to go in there and just take out as much fish as you want. You got it going on, right? All that's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's incredible. But if you can't protect it, if you can't keep it, then you don't own it. What happens when a group of bandits arrives and sees your property flourishing? How are you going to protect all that land? It's just you and your little family. That's hardly enough, especially when a gang of 100 people come around the corner. What are you going to do? And they're all armed to the teeth with assault rifles and military tactics, and they're all starving. And they see you got bumper crops and animals, and you living good out here in the middle of the country. They want what you got, and they're prepared to take it from you. And if it's just you and your little family, you got you, your spouse, and your 5 children. It's only 7 of you, and they're little children. Doesn't matter if they're little or grown. What's 5 people going to do against 100 armed people? Not much. You're dead. And all that you have is now belongs to the 100 people that rolled up on you. Unless you have secured your land to the degree that no one can take you by surprise, no one can come on, you'd have to build one of those. You would have to basically institutionalize your property. You would have to turn your property into a prison where you would have to put up the chain link fence with the barbed wire on top. Then you would have to put some barbed wire on the ground just in case someone was able to scale that fence. Now you got barbed wire on the ground you got to deal with. Then you got another fence with barbed wire, and then more barbed wire on the ground, then another fence with barbed. You got to do it like that. Make it impossible and extremely difficult for anyone to get to you to even step foot on your land. That would slow people down a lot. You got that razor wire. That's the wire I'm talking about. I don't mean just regular barbed wire. I mean the razor wire. You got prison. You styled your property like a prison with razor wire. You got razor wire everywhere. No one can escape. Get it? No one can escape out of into your property. Not with the razor wire. They're not getting in. And you have to turn the razor wire, to the out, pointing to the outside, because that's designed to keep people out, not keep people in, but keep people out. And only you can get in and out. No one else can. So you have to have, and that has to go around your entire property. The razor wire. You would have to have the fence around your entire property, and the razor wire would have to be on the top of the fence, in the middle, and the side, in between. The entire fence will have to be wrapped in the razor wire going around your property, and you have to do it like the moat style. So then that way they can't just, I just cut a hole through the fence and go through the fence. Nope, razor wires everywhere. You got mad razor wire all up and through the fence, top to bottom, and you have it on both sides of the fence. The razor wire is all over the fence, both sides of the fence. Then you make those big loops on the ground, leading to another razor wire fence. So you got 3 razor wire fence barriers that someone would have to get through, which would be impossible. Barbed wire is not going to do nothing for you, but razor wire, oh yeah. That razor wire, that's what's called razor wire. It will shred anything to pieces that tries to come through it. That's the only way that you could, secure yourself. But then you would have to also set up cameras and some type of alarm thing that will let you know when someone steps foot on your property, and that it would sound an alarm in the house so you could hear it. You have to have sophisticated hidden cameras all throughout the property, so you can see people come on in your north, your south, your east, your west at all times. You would have to have that if it was just you and your small family of 7 people total. Yeah, you would have to have all that, which is extraordinarily expensive. Even if you were a group, and let's say you had 100 people in your group, so 100 people live on this farm, you would have to set up watchtowers. You would have to literally build watchtowers. And each person, you have to have people take shifts of fire watch, 24/7 fire watch, 24/7 up in the tower. And you would have to have radios to communicate with each other. And you would have to have everything organized, where everyone communicates with each other constantly. So if someone sniped one of your dudes in the tower with with one of them silencer rifles, and you didn't hear a gunshot, and the person's plucked, you'll know that they're down because you have cameras right there in each of the towers, the watchtowers got cameras in it, and you got radio, with your own private channel tuned in. So you can check on, you have someone visually setting and looking at the cameras, people, taking shifts, and that's how you would have to do it. So you have to have at least 100 people in your group or more to make that doable, where everyone has fire watch. So you got at least 4 towers on all 4 corners of the property. Everyone's looking out. You got the binoculars, the telescope, all that stuff. You can see people coming miles away. And you got the radio, so handheld radio. You can talk to each other, and you got cameras, so everyone can see inside the watchtower to make sure that everyone in each watchtower is still alive, and you can communicate with each other on the ground and then wherever else. Everyone in the group would have to have a radio, a hand radio. That way, everyone can communicate in case something happens. You have to have that. And then this technology is expensive. And you would have to have like locator beacons and trackers and GPS on you at all times when you're walking around on the property, so that way you can find each other. You would have to do all of that. And that's expensive. And guess what, though? That would work great if we're just talking about the breakdown of society and, stuff like that. But what if we're not? What if we're talking about the electrical grid goes down, or EMP pulse attack? None of your technology is going to work now, but you'll be glad that you did that razor wire. You'll be real glad. You see what I'm saying? The only way to keep something like that as a prepper is when you have large groups. You can't have small groups because it's not enough to do fire watch. Even if you didn't have all that, let's just say you had a house that's in the country, and you have a little teeny little farm. You may have 2 or 3 goats, and you may got like 10 chickens, and that's it. You got a nice little garden. You're self-sufficient. You don't have to go to the store to buy food. You got your own. You would still have to protect that. Because again, how do you protect yourself? And if it's just you, you have to sleep. So if it's just you, your spouse, and your children, how are you going to sleep? You got to have enough people to do fire watching. This can't be just one person standing up. You have to have eyes on the circumference of your property. Especially if you're surrounded by woods and trees, you can have people coming from you from all angles. So you can't have a blind sight. What I'm trying to say is, prepping and stuff is great, but if you can't protect what you have, then you're not going to be able to keep it. All your efforts of prepping is going to be going to someone else to enjoy, because you won't get a chance to enjoy it. And that's just the truth. How you going to keep it? How you going to protect yourself? Well, hey, I have guns. Okay, that's great. But the scenario I just gave you was 100 people armed and hungry have now descended upon your property. What are you going to do? You can't win this gunfight. There's 100 of them, and it's only one of you. It's easy for them to flank you on all sides and take you out. You dig what I'm saying? So these are things you got to think about, folks. Plus, do you really think that you know that you're going to be all right? Because again, if you have 20 years worth of food saved up, that's great. But again, how are you going to deal with security and safety? Because we have a lot of lone wolves in this world. They don't believe in community. It's just them and their family, and that's all they care about. Not thinking that your neighbors, you're going to need each other. Communities are going to need each other, because the way our homes are built and designed, they're not fortresses. They're designed for elegance and luxury and to look good and appeal to the eye. They're not designed as fortresses. All right. Most houses are fly, and they have a bunch of windows. That's your first mistake right there. You have too many windows. Windows can be easily blown out. Easily. You have to have a way to turn your house into a fortress, but that's still not going to help you, because while you're sleeping, no one has to come into your house and take anything. You got a garden outside. All you got to do is walk over to your garden and just pick everything off the vine and keep it moving. And when you wake up and go out to your garden to get your salad for the day, you realize there's nothing to get because you have been harvested. So if you was too slow to go on a harvest, someone has harvested for you now. Don't worry about it. It's already done. It's over. All your bananas are gone. Somebody plucked you clean while you were asleep last night. All your apples on that tree are gone. Someone plucked every single last one of them things. You have to have it. Okay? All right. You have to have it. There's no substitution for the security aspect of prepping. Just because you own 50 firearms, that's not going to save you. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. That's not going to save you. Gangs and bandits run in droves. They move in many. And it's just you. What are you going to do, folks? See, that's the part that no one has really thought about. They're not thinking about these things. They say, oh, man, in my basement, man, I got 9 years worth of water. I got 25 years worth of food. We good. No, you're not good. Because number one, you can never leave your house, ever. Ever. Because the moment you leave, someone else is coming in and they're taking everything. And they may even squat and say, we're not ever leaving. This is our place now. And they're armed to the teeth. So now what? These are things that no one has thought about, the logistics of all of this. And we're talking about chaos. We're talking about people who are afraid and they're panicked. People who never thought in a million years that the U.S. could fall like this. They never thought in a million years that they would be starving to death. These thoughts never entered their mind. There was no conversation about this ever. If you would have said something, they would have been like, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. You sound like an idiot. But now it's not so far-fetched. Now that the four horsemen are riding, now everybody's wondering, is this the end? It's definitely the end of a dynasty. It's the end of the U.S. as the world's global policeman and superpower. Yeah, that ship has sailed into the night. There's no turning back. Remember, they kept saying this to you. Were you listening? These past 4 years, they said there's no going back. There's no going back to pre-COVID. This is the new normal. They kept telling you that over and over and over and over again. You are never going back. This is here to stay. Welcome, tyranny. It is what it is, folks. All right, I've rambled on long enough. Just wanted to put that little bug in your ear. Now you know what you're looking for. Everyone wants to know, what are the signs of the times? I just told you what the signs of the times are. If you missed the beginning of this broadcast, then you can go back and listen to the beginning. Once I'm done here, I go into very specifics on what to watch for to know when it's all about to unravel. Now you know. Can the can be kicked down the road any further? I'm afraid not. Nope. Nope. Everything's coming off the rails right now. This is not going to end well. Don't listen to the talking heads on the mainstream media. They're lying to you. Their job is not to create a panic or a cause for concern. They want you to keep spending and going on vacation and, styling and profiling and fronting on social media like you balling out of control. I'm so lit right now. I'm so rich. Look at what I got going on. They want that mentality to keep going. They want to keep you distracted with foolishness. Don't fall for it. All right, I'm out of here, folks. System works if you work the system. Bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. And on that note, I'm out. Peace.